Internet, it is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today we're going to be talking about Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons, so let's get to it. Pros. This is from Guy Ritchie. I literally just talked about this man last month, so I'm gonna do it again. Okay, so Guy Ritchie's made quite a few movies, and like his first initial batch of movies, they weren't like huge hits or anything, but they did, earn a cult following, and it allowed him to build up some clout. And that clout led him to directing the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., and those movies made bank. They each made about 500 million worldwide, so pretty good, right? Then he had some misfires after that, which I'll talk about when we get to the cons. But he got a huge hit in the form of Aladdin, the Aladdin remake, which came out in 2019, which made $1 billion despite a shit ton of criticism. So there's that. He's got that on his resume. Then after that, he made a movie that's more in tune with his style, which was The Gentleman, which did all right. It was one of the last real hits that came out before COVID changed everything when it came to movies. And then 2021 he made a Wrath of Man, which did decent considering like we were like in the recovery phase at this point. Barely anything was working. But this did okay. It did average, you know. Like it didn't like yet it made about as much as it probably would have in a normal environment. Maybe slightly less, but close enough to what it would have made in a normal environment. So that was a good thing. And we're not talking about Operation Fortune. I'll talk about that later when we get to the cons. But yeah, Guy Ritchie, he has a fan base. Some of his movies have made a decent amount of cash. And so, yeah, I'd say he's a pro, more or less. I mean, they put his name on the freaking title, which I thought is kind of weird because I don't recall like a director's name being in the title of a movie. That just feels kind of weird. Like, like when was the last time this even happened? I can't even recall. Like, you think James Cameron would have done with like Titanic, like James Cameron's Titanic, but no, it's just Titanic, or James Cameron's Avatar, it's just called Avatar. You think it would be something like that, but no. I mean, usually they put like at the top of the title, like in small text, a blank film, like A and someone's name and then film. That's usually what they do, or like from the director of blank. They don't just put the director's name in the title. So I think that's kind of odd. But yeah, Guy Ritchie, I'd say he's a pro. Okay. Another pro is our main man here, Jake Gyllenhaal. Hmm. This dude's been quite a bit of stuff in his career. A decent amount of it I like. I'm trying to think of like the first major one. I guess there's Donnie Darko, which wasn't a hit in theaters but became a big cult movie, like, down the line. I guess his first mainstream exposure was The Day After Tomorrow, which made a lot of money. Which made over $500 million, one of the biggest movies of 2004. What else do we have? Jarhead, which wasn't a huge hit, but I feel like it was kind of a tragic failure because of that. Because I've seen the movie. I think it was definitely a marketing issue with that. A lot of people thought it was going to be way more exciting than it really was, and it pissed people off, and there was no repeat business. That's what I think happened. See, I'm trying to see what else. Brokeback Mountain was a big one, a groundbreaking one. Considering, you know, obviously a gay cowboy movie in 2005. One would think, oh, who the hell's gonna watch that? But a decent amount of people did, and it was like a big Oscar movie. Well, it didn't win Best Picture. Crash did, which people still hate. I hate People still hate the result of that. But yeah, I mean, Brokeback Mountain's a pretty important flick in the grand scheme of things. Then after that, things got kind of bad. Just ignore all of these. But we got Source Code, which was a decent little hit. Same goes for End of Watch and Prisoners. All did fine. Nightcrawler also did fine. That movie's super good, by the way. Southpaw did solid. Everest did weak here, but did better overseas. Trying to think what else. Spider-Man: Far From Home, where he was Quentin Beck, Mysterio. That was a big hit. That was the first Spider-Man movie to make $1 billion. That's pretty, uh, pretty important right there. And fun fact: Jake Gyllenhaal, he almost replaced Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man during the filming of Spider-Man 2. Because while before Spider-Man 2, or maybe during around that time, Tobey Maguire was doing, I think it was Seabiscuit. And during the filming of that, he got injured, like badly injured. And then they were worried, like, oh no, he's gonna do Spider-Man 2. So they had like Jake Gyllenhaal as like a like as an alternate in case of that, in case things went south, like he would replace Toby. But obviously Toby was able to recover and he was able to do Spider-Man 2. So I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was a pretty interesting piece of film trivia. But yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, very notable name, been in a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff I like. Dar Sully, has he been anything significant? I don't know. I guess I'm about to find out. Exorcist Gods and King. Oh, ooh. Oh yeah, this the movie with the. Ugh, God, it was a Ridley Scott. It had like Christian Bale and Joel Edgerton. It was like basically Prince of Egypt if it was whitewashed, and nobody watched it, and they so just why even bring up his name? So it's mainly just Jake Gyllenhaal. He's gonna be like he's like the main guy here. So I say Jake Gyllenhaal's name is a pro. Another pro is that the reviews for this movie are pretty darn good. They're very solid. 81% critic score, and its audience score is even better, 98%, which is like pretty damn stellar if you ask me. And its cinema score I believe is an A. So let me check just to make sure. Yes, it is an A. So word of mouth is definitely a non-issue. So that's a pro. Uh I guess another pro, I don't know if it's a pro. I mean, there's not any like war movies out right now, so I mean, I guess with direct competition, Evil Dead Rise is going after a completely different market, and a lot of movies are going after different markets. This is kind of going more towards that underserved market, I guess, kind of middle America esque market. Which, like, if you can appeal to like that area, really any area, if you really appeal to it in a way that's not condescending, then you can get some nice results. I mean, as Top Gun Maverick thrived thanks to like that middle America like embracing the movie like via the box office. So I don't know if the same. I don't think the same's gonna happen here at all, but I might as well mention it. So the fact that this movie has no real direct competition, I say, is a pro, at least at the moment. um I think that's really it. Yeah, I think that's it. So, cons. Okay. So, although this is like Guy Ritchie, okay. We already talked about his hits. Let's talk about his bombs because this man's made some flops that I need to talk about. I mean, his earlier stuff's not super important. What's important is the mid 2010s. Man from Uncle, that flopped. That was underperformer, but that looks like gold in comparison to Legend of King Arthur, Legend of the Seven, was it Legend of the Sword, which was a super disaster. It cost 175 million dollars. It only made 139 million worldwide. Like, fuck, man. How do you fuck up this hard with price? I don't. get. This is why Warner Brothers was in such a hole. Make decisions like this is what put him in such a bad spot. Okay, so yeah, King Arthur, huge disaster. It's amazing he got the Aladdin gig after that. um, and then like I already mentioned, Gentleman Wrath of Man, but might as well mention Operation Fortune, which came out last month. It has release date announced 2 whole weeks in advance after like a year in limbo. And it finally came out last month, and no one gave a fuck. Because it only opened with like $3 million, we had like 6 million total. Yeet. Big old bomb here. So yeah. So this coming out literally a month after that. That's not great. Not to mention like the Covenant, it's very different from his usual, type. It's not the typical movie he would make, right? It's like how people expect like a Michael Bay movie to have explosions, or M Night Shyamalan movie to have a twist, or a J.J. Abrams movie to have lens flares, or like I'm trying to think of other tropes directors have. Yeah, I think those are like the main ones. Like this isn't like that at all. So I don't know if his fan base is gonna appeal. They're gonna show up, but I don't know how many of them will want to show up because this isn't exactly your typical Guy Ritchie movie. So I feel like that's a con. So yeah. Another. Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal. Let's talk about him again. I mean, he's had hits, but he's had bombs too, just like everybody else. Some of these bombs are pretty damn awful. um, Trying to think of the main ones. Okay, Zodiac, that underperformed. Brothers did Prince of Persia was not the blockbuster Disney hoped it would be. Love and Other Drugs, I guess, did fine. Uh, Definitely can't say the same for like Demolition, Nocturnal Animals, Life. That flopped pretty badly. Spirit Untamed, that was voiceover work, so I'm not really counting that. I will count Ambulance though, and I already mentioned Michael Bay's name, and that was a Michael Bay movie. Like this came out last year, and despite this movie being like some would say Michael Bay's best movie, it was his worst performing movie. Only opened with like only made like 22 million domestic, 52 million worldwide. That's pretty terrible considering the movie cost like what, 40 some million dollars. So yeah, like that's really bad. And I feel like Ambulance, even this movie had more going for it than The Covenant or Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. My bad. And oh, Strange World. Oh, it's not. It's an animated movie. It's not like they promoted Jake Gyllenhaal. Like he's in it. Like I don't count animated movies here, but Strange World was literally the biggest bomb of last year. A catastrophic disaster. Lost almost $200 million. Like, ooh, that's it's hard to wrap your mind around like that fact because it's man. So yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, he's not exactly a super draw. I mean, sometimes people will watch him, sometimes they don't. So yeah, so his not so great track record, overall track record. Well, I guess it's more of a middle ground. Like he has his positives and his negatives. One big negative is that there's no, there's been no real push for this movie. They're not. Who is distributing this? MGM, which is Amazon, basically. They're not pushing this very hard. They pushed Creed 3 to the max. Okay, but this, no. Hell, they pushed Air harder than this. Like it just feel like this. I only seen like one trailer for this movie, and that was like in front of. I forgot what it was. Was it John Wick 4? It may have been John Wick 4. Don't quote me on that. But um yeah, I've seen like no real push from Amazon like for this movie. It's like they're just like, I don't know. It'll be fine, I guess, if they just like threw it out there. So yeah, that's definitely a con. Lack of a real push from Amazon's marketing department. Another con is that there's a lot of movies out right now. Mario being the biggest one, and the second biggest is going to be Evil Dead Rise, and then everything else, forget about it. It's just everyone's fighting for scraps at that point, and I feel like the Covenant it does not stand a great chance. Not to mention all the movies coming out next weekend. I feel like Sisu will be like the biggest problem for it, maybe. But then like once May starts, that all April movies just die. That's just what happens. They all the April movies they live for like 2 weeks max. Like the late April movies, because late April is not a great time to release a movie. They live for a few weeks max, but once the May starts, it's over. So I don't expect that to be any different here. So yeah, too many movies out right now, and all the movies coming out later. Con, big con. Trying to think of any other cons. I mean, it is a war movie. Well, I guess it's a thriller. I guess it's the war movie technically. It's based in Afghanistan. I don't know. I mean, Afghanistan that might bring some bad memories for moviegoers, especially what happened in 2021. That whole fiasco, that whole mess. I don't know if people want to be reminded of that or anything remotely related to that. um, but I mean, let's look at Afghanistan War. Let's see the history of these movies. 12 Strong. Does anyone even remember that movie? I think that had Chris Hemsworth in it. That only did like modest business. War Dogs. Sorry, it's like 2 a.m. War Dogs did modest business. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot did bad. I'm seeing a pattern here. I think Lone Survivor and Zero Dark 30 are the only real hits I see with Afghanistan. Like at least those made money. I guess there's Dear John. I guess I don't know, but I guess the Afghanistan war is not exactly a popular subject when it comes to movies. So yeah, that's definitely a problem. So that's a con. And I think that's really it. So opening weekend, I really thought this would hit double digits, but that's not gonna be the case anymore. Especially since it's only up in like 2,600 something theaters, like 2,600 theaters, which is not a lot. You think it would be in 3,000, but no, 2,600. That's not a great amount. So yeah, ugh. I'm gonna say I don't know, 5 to 7 million opening weekend, and its total will be 15 to 20. It will do better than Operation Fortune, but that's not exactly a high achievement. So I mean, there's that. But yeah, Guy Ritchie's gonna have not one but two L's this year. So sucks to be him. And that's it. And so we got one more movie to talk about, Somewhere in Queens, and then we're done. We're done for the weekend. Yay! Then we gotta do next weekend. We're just four more movies. Ugh. We'll deal with that when we deal with that. But yeah, yeah. So stay tuned for all those videos. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check out more videos like this? Got playlists on the homepage, all previous prediction videos. I made the channel for this year and the other years. You want to watch any of those? Go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I don't believe I've covered The Covenant, like, ever. No, I have not. Hmm. I've never covered this movie. It's weird. I don't. I'm positive I haven't. The Covenant. No, 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 no. Never covered it. I really. Oh wait, no. Yeah, I definitely haven't covered it. That's weird. But I have made 186 episodes of Canceled. So if you want to watch any of those episodes or any of the past ones I've done, like you want to watch them all from beginning to now, I highly encourage you to do that. So go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. Um, April recap will come out after Guardians 3 releases, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.